What is going on, friends? Today I am currently sitting on the project that we're going to work on together. This beautiful 16 by 16 foot Trex deck that I built is just part one of 3 parts series. This part that you're about to watch is how I built this thing, including digging the holes, which I am using a new tool of mine, which I'm super excited about, a new auger that I bought for this project. Building out the pillars for the footing and the whole structure, how to make sure it's all level, how to make sure it's all completely square, and just in general how to build this thing. This took me about 10 hours total to build. It is, on the ground, as you can see, so that's a little bit easier than if it's raised up, 6-8 feet off the ground. But you can take these same principles that I'm doing in this project and apply them to a raised deck or a multi-tier deck, so and so forth. First of all, I want to say thanks for watching. I really enjoy making these videos. You guys are awesome. I love interacting, all the questions that you guys ask on my channel. It's just so much fun to be a part of this community of DIYers, builders, creative people, right? And I just really appreciate when you guys like my videos, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on the other parts of the series. So this is part one. Part two, you see these grills behind me. I'm going to build a custom kitchen, outdoor grilling station, if you will. And then the last part of this series will be a pergola. Either I'll buy one and review it and show you how to put it together, or I think I'm gonna actually just build a custom one because I can't find exactly what I want out there in the world. So just before we get started, all of the material lists and affiliate links to parts and all the materials are down in the description below. Feel free to check those out. If you do purchase something through the affiliate links, it supports my channel and I just really appreciate that. A ton of you guys do that and I just am so thankful. The total cost for this deck I list in the description below. It's right about $3,000 and this is Trex decking. So you can do it for cheaper. It cost me about $800 more to do Trex for this size of a deck versus just the common, the 1-inch by 6-inch decking material, just natural wood. I decided to go for this because it wasn't that much more added to the cost and it's maintenance free. I'll never have to seal it or sand it or do anything, and the fasteners are all hidden in between the boards. It just has such a clean look to it, and in today's world, wood is just not what it used to be. I've built decks in the last couple years with just natural wood because I love the look and I love just like the feel of it under my feet when I'm grilling and that kind of stuff, how soft it is and all that. But right now it's just hard to find quality wood in that size. So I went ahead and upgraded the decking to the basic enhanced. This is not the base level, so you can actually get a little bit cheaper than this grade, but I really love the two-tone look that you'll be able to see in a little bit when we get started. But so let's jump into it and get started. I'm standing where the deck is going to be. It's going to be roughly 16 feet this way by 17 feet this way. And you can see these orange marks on the ground and some stakes that I've laid out the rough design of the deck. Each post is going to be a 4x4 post and they're going to be 8 feet apart. So you're going to have 6 posts in the ground, and then I'm going to have a ledger board that goes all the way across. I don't know if you can see in the video, but attached to the garage over here to my left. And so I'm going to dig 6 of the holes, put the posts in. I'm going to use this 8-inch tubing and some concrete, and then I'll show you the hardware in a little bit once we get to that stage. But first we got to dig some holes. To dig these holes, I'm going to use this new auger that I just got from Ego. It's battery powered. I actually have an unboxing and first initial review of this product I'll link to right up here in the video. But this thing is a beast so far. It's gonna basically save me so much time. The holes that I'm gonna dig are obviously 8 inches wide because that's the tubing structure. This auger is an 8-inch bit on there, and so I'm basically going to let this do all the work for me. So I'm going to find the center of the hole I'm going to dig that I laid out before and start digging. We're going to go 24 inches down for each one of the holes, and then insert the tubing, add the concrete, and add some other hardware so we can attach the 4x4s another day. Here we go. So like I mentioned, we're going to go 24 inches down into the ground. These are actually 48 inches, so it's exactly 2 times as much as I need. So I marked a spot at the 24 inches, and then I'm just going to cut this in half. We'll check to see if I got the 24 inches or not. Not quite there, so I'm going to have to take a little more dirt out. Use the auger to make the hole. I'm going to take a post hole digger and just scoop out the loose dirt, like so. If you don't have an auger, you can actually just use this the entire time. It will get the job done. It will just take you about 30 minutes per hole, up to an hour, depending on your soil type, versus the auger, you saw me do it in about 30 seconds. And then let's check, see how far we are. So basically the process is you fill up the post with a little bit of water and then add concrete, and then keep doing that until the whole thing is filled up for the most part. I usually leave a little rim that'll cut away later, but yeah, so that's that. And then the hardware that we're using is these bolts and nuts and washers with these guys, and basically this sits right on top of there, and then you secure it with the washer and nut, and these can adjust depending on where you need it exactly. So you basically want the bolt to stick up about 1 inch from the top of the concrete, and then you let this sit for 24 hours and we'll come back and it will be ready to install the 4x4. So now I'm going to install the 5 other ones just like I did this one, and then we'll come back another day and start working on putting the 4x4s in and building the foundation. We're going to take some of this weed barrier fabric and cover the entire area. As you can see, this hasn't been uncovered for very long and it's already growing a bunch of weeds. And so you want to mitigate all of that by putting some of this fabric down before you start building the foundation of the deck. fabric down, and I promise you will thank yourself later if you do this step, because something's gonna start growing up underneath the deck, especially with how low mine is. And now we're gonna take these, they're basically like little shoes or platforms for the 4x4s. So the posts are gonna stick up on all 6 of these pillars, and this is what I use to secure them to the post, as well as you'll notice this little like elevation point. This is to keep the wood from sitting in water if there is any. And so you want to buy these. I think they're about 14 bucks a piece, plus the hardware is probably another like $3 to $4 a piece. And the goal of this is for the 4x4 not to be sitting in water, so it doesn't rot as quickly. So what we're gonna do is that we're actually gonna put this on here, and then we're gonna take a washer and a nut, and I'm just gonna loosely put these on for now, because now is the point where we need to make sure all of these are in line, especially horizontally parallel to the garage where we're gonna put the 2x6x16 across for the header joist. So I'm just gonna place these for now, and then I'll show you how to make sure they're aligned. So to make sure they're all perfectly spaced from the header board, I decided to hang the header board now and then measure everything off of that. So you see me using lag screws that are 4.5 inches long to attach this board to the 2x4s that are inside the garage. And you want to do them every 16 inches to ensure that you're maximizing the strength of this board and the connection to the inside wall. I also used construction adhesive that is graded for outdoor use in between this and the siding that I screwed it up against. You want to make sure that the connection is super secure. Once we have the header board on and make sure it's level, that's what we're going to base everything off of from here on out. So everything's going to be based off of that exact level. Take that and measure to make sure all of these are exactly 100.5 inches from that header board. And then once I know that they're in the right place, you take a 3/4 inch ratchet and tighten it down to be exactly where you need it. An extra deep socket to finalize the tightening. Make sure it's nice and snug on all 3 of these in this row. So now that I cut a few potential sizes, about 7 inches for the 4x4s, we're gonna test out the level. So I'm gonna grab this line level, and basically I'm gonna lift up this post even with the edge of the 4x4 until it's totally level, and just make sure we have enough room, and that's pretty much perfect. So for me, these are about 7 inches. I'm gonna cut 3 of these about the same size and then attach them to the anchors, and then we'll work on basically sandwiching these 4x4s with these 2x6s all the way across, so we have a nice base for our deck. I'm using 3-inch screws to attach the hardware to the 4x4, and these are special deck screws that are so awesome. They are in the description below. Basically, they have a star head that is almost impossible to strip. So years from now, when this deck is disassembled or replaced or whatever, it's not just the little Phillips head stripped heads. It's super easy for the future person to unscrew. Once I have all of the posts connected to the hardware, I grab my level again and double check to make sure it's perfectly level with the header board, and then grab a clamp and attach it to that 4x4, and then do the same thing on the far side. If you don't have these clamps and you work alone, like I do a lot, definitely go get some. They're at every hardware store. They're super quick and easy to use, and are pretty much the only way you can work alone and ensure accurate results. Once I have both sides completely level, I grab some screws, the same deck screws that I was using before, and attach the 2x6 to the 4x4s on all three posts. Before I secure the last two posts, I ensure that this board is completely level. The key here on this entire project is making sure everything is perfectly level throughout the entire process. You want to do overkill on this, because the worst thing that you can do is have an uneven or unlevel deck. It just makes for the rest of the project to go really bad. So now that I have the foundation in place, so you see it's all sandwiched together, we're on the 4x4s, and then I have the header doubled up, and I'll explain why I did that in the next step. But you can see it's all nice and level across the entire thing. The last step is to use some of this tape on all the beams, and that helps make it more weather resistant. This is all treated wood, of course, but it's important to make sure that it lasts a long time, especially with just the harsh winters here in Colorado. Just so much snow, moisture gets trapped on top of the wood, and I'm gonna go ahead and apply this tape. I'll link to this in the description below, in the affiliate link section. Feel free to buy it through there, and I'll get a little slice of the profits, and then yeah, I'll do this, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so now that I have all the foundation done, what I started doing is making this box that's essentially going to have all the floor joists inside of it that will hang from the two sides. And you make the box just a simple frame, and to make sure that it is completely square, you measure each corner. So that corner to corner, and then same thing with that corner to that corner. And if those two measurements are identical, then you know your box is a perfect square, or a rectangle in this case. every corner is going to be square at that point. So that's all good to go. You can see that this header beam right here is sitting on the two beams attached to the garage. I made sure to use construction adhesive when I glued the two beams together down here, and then I just screwed this one in a few places along the wall to make sure it was not going to move on us, because that's going to keep everything exactly where it needs to be. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to cut all the floor joists that go in between those two boards, and you want to double check the measurement for yours. Mine is 83.5 inches because I'm using a full 2x6x8. I know what you're thinking, that math isn't right, but I just measured them and they're all about a half an inch longer than 8 feet. Some a little less, some a little more. And so you want to double check yours, but measure the inside to inside, and that's what the floor joist lengths are going to be to fit in there. In case you did not know, since we're talking about 16 on center, I'm about to mark this header joist on the box every 16 inches, right? And if you notice, right here on the tape is 16 inches, and that is in the color red. That is a quick indication to let you know exactly where 16 is. So if we go another 16 inches to right here, 32 inches, that one is red as well. So as I'm marking the beam, I just look for all the red numbers, and that's where we're gonna have each floor joist hit. Alright, so once you have the joists cut to the right length and lined up where you want them, I have the joist hanger under here, and you can see here, let me take this out so you can see a little better. This is about 1/4 of an inch lower than I need it to be, maybe a little less. But there's an easy trick to fix this before you attach it to the hanger. So you get a scrap piece of your wood, a screw, and basically what we're going to do is set it on top and screw it in until it's nice and flush. And then the cool thing about this too is those hash marks that I made on top of each piece that I'm lining the wood with. You can use this to align it perfectly, and then all you got to do is grab your hammer once you unscrew this guy, it'll stay completely flush with the top there, so when you put your deck boards on, everything's totally lined up. Alright, so as you can see, I got the other half done. I'll give you a quick tour in a second, but I wanted to walk you through a few things that you need to double check as you're doing this. One, let's take a look. So you can see here that I staggered the 16 on center joists. That's just so I didn't have to mess with them butting up against each other. And then I also staggered which end had the little leftover piece here. Again, this is 16 by 16, and so you have a little bit of extra space on the end of it with 16 on center. And then, as you can see down the middle, I did some blocking. This helps with movement back and forth, and it also helps keep all of the pieces nice and straight. So as you're putting all the clips in, it keeps everything nice and even all the way down the line. One note on these guys is you don't want to measure the inside area. You want to measure on both ends, make sure those are the same size, and then cut this piece to match the size of the end where it's on the joist hanger. Reason being is if you measure the inside to inside just along the way, it's going to just continue the bowed structure of that 2x6, and you don't want that. So got that all done, and then I started over here. You can see I started putting these clips on, and they're end piece clips. And the way I'm going to put this all together now is I'm going to start on this end and work my way. You can see I put a test piece over there to make sure it fits nicely, but I'm going to work my way towards the garage. And the reason I'm doing that is, one, I know everything is completely straight and everything, and I made sure that it was completely square and everything. And two, I'll be able to rip that one down to potentially a weird size and then just screw it into the end joist, which then I don't have like some weird little piece on this end if that's the case. So you start out with these clips. You screw them, I put them every 16 inches about all the way down the line, and you want to make sure that they're evenly positioned so they're completely flat against your header joist here as you go down and install them. And then once you get that installed, you go back and add the clips to do the next piece. You'll notice here, you'll also notice here that I'm having it hang over a little bit. I made this actually 15 inches long because basically I'm going to butt up evenly with the back side of the 2x6s, and then I'm going to take a saw and rip these to be completely even on the front side. So you want a little bit of an overhang, and you want to use as little seams as possible throughout the decking project. So I bought these 16-foot long pieces, and then I'm just going to rip it with my straight edge and saw when I'm done to the exact size I want. So here you can see I'm screwing in the hardware onto each of the 2x6s, the floor joists, and you want to get the grooved boards, and basically this hardware goes in the groove and then is sandwiched in between this board and the next board. And so you screw them in about halfway, and then you can see here I'm grabbing the next board and pushing it into place, and then coming back, and as I'm pressing the board against the other board, I'm screwing in the hardware all the way down so it's nice and tight. Once you have all of the boards installed, you need a partner to help you snap a chalk line across all the boards exactly where you want to cut it. So you can see I'm doing that now. Once you have the chalk line in place, you grab a skill saw, or in this case I'm using a Trex saw, and just ripping each piece down to size. You see it takes 2 passes for this size of deck, but it is definitely worth it to have a Trex saw like this to make this process so much easier. Well, that is going to wrap it up for this video. Here is the finished product. I'll do a quick video wraparound tour in a second, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining and watching. I'm going to do some more projects, additions to this deck, including a grilling station, a custom table area, and potentially a pergola in the near future. So make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you are informed when I upload a video. We'll see you next time.